Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. It is May 26th, 2017. We were supposed to start this live stream at 9 a.m. this morning. However, my neighbors decided to start cutting down a tree 5 minutes before we were going to start this live stream. And yes, they were using chainsaws. So we would not be able to hear anything going on. Fortunately, they're finished. And I have the doctor here with us this morning, and she's written a report on the sizes of these brown dwarf stars and the other substellar objects that we're referring to as a brown dwarf. That's going to be definitely geared towards the substellar planetary blue object that I photographed back on May 10th. So good morning, doctor. How are you?
Good morning, Scott. I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm doing pretty good now that I have that freaking buzzsaw out of my ears next door. I could hear a lot better. They were really going to town on that tree over there, boy. I was hoping to God it wouldn't fall down and hit my house, but they did a pretty good job. And they did a fast job. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into your report. But if you can give me a few minutes here, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody so they can see exactly what you have for us today. And here we go. Now, the title of the report that the doctor has written quotes the sizes of the different brown dwarf stars and brown dwarfs in the solar system. And this is dated for today, May 26th, 2017.
Yes, that's because I finished it very early this morning.
Yes, this looks like a detailed report, and I do believe that everybody is definitely going to want to know what's in this report. I'll go ahead. I'll turn it over to you, and you can go ahead and start your report because I'm very interested in listening to this also.
Yes, because you actually made a little video about the size of some of these objects. So I actually got this idea from that little video you made. But I've included all the objects that I've been observing and that I've been able to sort of estimate their sizes. And we start with the first one here. And this is the first one that I observed. And it was in the February 2007 Core 2B images.
Oh, that's the video that got me into all kinds of trouble.
Yes, that's right. But this is the video that actually got me started with real evidence of the fact that these objects were around. Because before then, I had plasma ejections, and I had loops and jets and all kinds of things, and I had the sun going dark. All that told me that these objects were here, but I'd never gotten an actual image of one of these objects. So this was the first one, and I was so excited because it had a dark core and an ionized gas envelope that white dwarf stars have, and therefore brown dwarf stars should have as well. And it was emitting light from the envelope on the side opposite to where the sun was. So to me, this was amazing. But anyway, this was the first object, and it turned out to be nearly twice the size of Jupiter, so 1.7 times the size of Jupiter.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and as you'll see later on, I'll put all the sizes together in one diagram, so it's very interesting. All right, so if we scroll down, we will see when it reversed the sun a few days later, on the 25th. And from that, I could see that it was in the corona because, as you can see, it's red. It's not black. Now, some people were saying that this was the moon. if this had been the moon would have been very far away, not close to the sun. The fact that you can see that the side facing us is red tells us that it has to be in the sun's corona. And if it had been the moon, it would be completely black because it would be far away from the sun. So this is one of the ways we know it was in the corona. And since it's in the corona, then I could estimate its size by comparing it with the sun. And it turned out to be about 1.7 times the size of Jupiter, or about twice the size of Jupiter.
So that's a pretty big object.
It is big. It's big for brown dwarf stars. They usually are much smaller than that. So this was a big one. This is probably the biggest of the brown dwarf stars we have.
That we know of.
That we know of. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, I remember this footage, and you know, whenever I reviewed that footage, I looked at it over and over. I think for hours. I was caught up in those images from 2007. And they are still very, very incredible images, and I find it hard to believe that they're still available for us to look at.
It is amazing. They're very compelling. And I actually started naming these objects because there are quite a few of them now. So I call this one BDS. So BD stands for brown dwarf. The S stands for star. And then 2 means February, 20 means 20th, so 20th February, and then 2007, that's the year. So basically that's the date.
So this would be the name of the object that we were just talking about, the BDS 22020007.
That's right.
The 007
I had to name
dwarf.
That's true, 007. Okay, so the next one is this one that was drawing plasma from the sun. And this was seen in March of 2012, that's right. And there I calculated its size again because it was so close to the sun, so I could estimate its size according to the size of the sun. And it took 21 of those little, there it is, 21 of those little circles that represent the size of the object to make a line across the diameter of the sun. So basically, it was 21 times smaller than the sun. And therefore, since the sun is 10 times larger than Jupiter, this object was about half the size of Jupiter. So that's how I estimate.
This was a smaller object than the other object that we were referring to.
That's
the 007 object.
That's right. And remember, I don't quite explain it all here. I've written another article where I explain this, but the smaller these objects are, the more powerful they are, because they seem to evolve from white dwarf stars that are even smaller. White dwarf stars are the size of the Earth, and they have the mass close to the mass of the sun, or around the mass of the sun. So they are much more powerful than the brown dwarf stars we have, but they have a lot of the same characteristics.
Yeah, I tried to explain that to a few people that were viewing the large blue striped object that I had photographed, and they were all saying, oh, if a planet that size was close to the Earth, we would be destroyed. The Earth would be dismantled, ejected into or out of the solar system. All of these really, really far-fetched comments that were being made. And, what I was trying to explain to them is exactly what you're saying right now.
Yes.
These smaller objects, these smaller brown dwarf stars, these are the most powerful objects that are in our inner solar system. These are the objects that we really need to worry about getting close to Earth. Now, when I mean getting close to Earth, I don't mean, the distance from the Earth to the moon, but these objects can affect our planet from millions of miles away. And we are already seeing a lot of these effects. And I guess people have the misconception that this object is just going to move in rapidly, destroy the Earth, and then go on its merry way. Well, that is not the way it happens. That has never been the way that I have described this event or this type of situation. These objects are moving very, very slow, and they will, I don't think they'll ever get that close to Earth. Like, for instance, you know, as close as the moon. So do you think that they would ever come that close to our planet, or would they be repelled, or we just don't?
I doubt it, because space is so huge. People often don't realize the huge distances that we have between objects. And don't forget that the sun has a mass which is 1,000 times greater than the largest other known object in the solar system, which is Jupiter. And I don't actually think anymore that it is the mass that's attracting the other objects. I think it's another interaction. It may be even be a magnetic interaction or something to do with that. But we use the idea of mass and the gravitational force to model the fact that these objects attract other objects. And therefore, the mass of the sun is a representation of how it can attract the Earth. And it's 1,000 times larger than Jupiter. And in other words, 10,000 times greater than the Earth. It might be even more, actually. I haven't actually, because in mass, it's different from size. So what causes the Earth to be locked with the sun is the sun's attraction for the Earth. And the sun is extremely large and has an extreme attractive force on the rest of the planets on the solar system. So when we have other objects coming into the solar system, they have to unlock these planets from the sun, so to speak. And it's not easy because they're locked in by the sun's great strength. You understand what I mean? So if an object comes close to, even if they come quite close to the Earth, we would think in terms of the gravitational force that it might perturb the orbit of the Earth. So it might move it a little bit off its orbit, but it won't do what people are saying, that it would cause it to shake and so on. That doesn't happen. We don't see planets orbiting other planets being shaken and destroyed. We don't see Jupiter's moons being destroyed and shaken. They just follow the path smoothly according to how Jupiter is attracting them. The same thing happens with all the planets in the solar system. And if another object comes by, what it will do, it might perturb the orbit a little bit. And then as it moves away, the object goes back to its old orbit because it follows what the sun is telling it to do.
So the Earth is a pretty... well, the Earth is a pretty powerful planet. Would you not say? I mean, if something came, you know, if something was pulling on the Earth, naturally the Earth is going to resist. I think that we are starting to see somewhat of, I don't want to say a pole shift, but there is definitely concrete evidence that we're seeing already that our poles are being tugged on. They are being manipulated by some outside force because, I mean, we talk about the Earth wobble all the time, and we are now clearly seeing this Earth wobble with people sending emails and making comments about not seeing the sun rise and set in the same positions that they've noticed their entire life, things of that nature, plus all of the weather anomalies that we're seeing. And our last live stream, you know, we went over what is being seen with our jet streams in the northern and southern hemisphere right now. And both regions, in my opinion, are a complete mess.
Yes. And that has to do with the magnetic field, because brown dwarf stars have very strong magnetic fields. And that comes from the fact that they were white dwarf stars, and that's characteristic of white dwarf stars. They have extremely high magnetic fields. So the brown dwarf stars don't have as high a magnetic field, but still very strong, and therefore quite comparable in size with the sun's own magnetic field. And this is also why they are able to pull plasma from the sun, because they can actually have a magnetic field strength that's stronger than the sun's magnetic field strength at a point on its surface. And that's also what causes the coronal holes. And then because these objects have such strong magnetic fields, they affect the Earth's magnetic field as well. And they affect where the North and the South Pole are, because now they try to align themselves with this object's magnetic field, and they're trying to align themselves with the sun's magnetic field. And so there's a kind of a fight between the two, between the sun and these objects. And that causes the Earth magnetic poles to shift from place to place. And therefore the Earth, when it tries to balance itself, somehow in equilibrium with the sun's magnetic pole orientation and this object's magnetic orientation. One wins sometimes, the other wins at other times, and that's what causes the Earth to wobble.
Well, there's no doubt we're wobbling. You know, I was just looking at some weather patterns while they were cutting down this tree next to my house, and I couldn't hear anything.
Yes.
I was looking at some weather that is currently coming across the United States, which, well, it actually just left off of the East Coast. But there is absolutely no doubt our weather patterns around this globe are just absolutely out of control. I know where I live, we went from a weather pattern of very, very hot temperatures, well above 85, 86, 87, 88 degrees. And then a few days later, bingo, we are right back to 63 degrees. And it's been raining for the last 3 days. And we have 3 more days of rain still in the forecast.
Oh my. Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, the weather patterns are crazy around the world, and that I think has to do with the Earth wobbling as well from side to side. Right, so the third object, also a brown dwarf star, was this one observed this year, May 10th. That's right, and it was half hidden by a cutoff line. And its size, I estimated its size by that little blue circle. And then I placed it next to Jupiter, where Jupiter is drawn to scale with respect to the sun. And the sun in that image is about the same size as the sun in the X-ray GOES image. So basically, that's what I used to estimate its size. It turned out to be about 1/3 size of the sun. So it's even smaller than the one before. Yeah, so that's one of them. I think I called it BDS 510 2017. Yes.
Yeah, here we go here. BDS 5102017. Now there's a gentleman down in Australia. He has a YouTube channel, goes by the name Aussie Prepper, or Prep Aussie, I think it is. And he was viewing some of that Core 2 footage that is going around. I believe it was seen on the 10th of May, and it shows 3 objects heading towards the sun. They're a little blurred, but I was watching his video yesterday, and he was going through a whole series of color changes on that one still photograph, and he was able to capture an object, just about at the north pole of the sun, I would say. And now, since you have put this diagram together from this GOES footage using the blue circle as your measurement, that looks to be pretty close to the size of the object that he discovered right up here on the northern pole of the sun. And obviously it was back behind the sun, so it would naturally look smaller. But I did have some communication with him late yesterday, and we're going to be collaborating with him, myself and the doctor, and we're going to try and take a look at that still footage that he has from the stereo imaging from the core 2, and we're going to take it apart. We're going to see what he has discovered, because this is what we need to do. We need to delve into other people's discoveries, because this is going to help all of us completely understand what's happening. And I'm very, very glad he was able to discover that. And he seems to be very, very talented with the way that he was using the different colors and contrasts and inversions in the photograph, because that is literally what you have to do, because sometimes these objects are hidden, they don't emit a lot of light, or we have something being fudged in by NASA and trying to cover these objects up, just like you see here with this cut line that was purposely put in, and they didn't do a good job once again, and they left half of the object right there, the little white piece that you see sticking out, they left it in there.
That's right.
So we were able to discover that not too long ago, and there's no doubt that is a round object. There's no doubt about it. And then we were also able to discover an object down here in the lower corner.
That's right.
And we did do a live stream on that information. And you know what I'm just seeing? This was the same date.
That's right.
May 10th.
A lot happened on that day.
Oh boy,
because
oh
you
boy.
photographed the blue-brown dwarf on that day as well, Scott.
That is correct. Well, looky what we got here. Well, as soon as I have communication with him, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to get together with him sometime tomorrow. Now, he's in Australia. I'm in the United States. The doctor's in South Africa. So we have a complete mess with time zones. But we figured it out where we can probably all get together and examine this still photograph and compare it to what we have here and see what type of discovery has been made down there in Australia. So I think this is a key piece of information that we need to take a look at. But yeah, this is a very good diagram. I like this. This definitely shows you a good comparison. So that object, the little blue circle that you have there, and that is about a third of the size of Jupiter.
That's right.
That's still pretty big. That's compared to the size of the Earth in this diagram. Right. The Earth looks like a little dot.
Yeah, it's still, don't forget, the Earth is a tenth of the size of Jupiter. So this object is still 3.3 times larger than the Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's probably one of the smallest we've seen so far, but it's still large compared to the Earth.
Oh boy.
Right.
You know, sometimes
and then comes,
it makes me catch my, try to catch my breath sometimes.
Yes. And then it's your object. I gave it a very special name. This is the blue-brown dwarf. Yep, I gave it your name. You know, like they do to asteroids, where they put the discoverers' names at the end. So now this one, I named it BD. Notice it doesn't have the little S because it's a brown dwarf, not a brown dwarf star.
Correct.
And then 5/10/2017, Sion.
Well, you know, I don't feel too bad about this because just recently there was, I believe there was an exoplanet that was discovered, and the astronomer's name was Bernard, and they named. This is no lie. This was in all over the whole entire astronomy community, and at one of these big astro conventions or conferences, and they named the exoplanet Bernard.
Oh,
Bernard.
very interesting.
So now,
Yes.
you know, I feel honored, and I don't feel too bad. But I like my name. I like my name better than Bernard, anyways.
Yes, it is. Yours is much nicer, definitely.
So this was definitely an extraordinary capture here.
Yes.
And still, I caught this photograph on May 10th. And I do have to admit that each day I open my computer, I look at these photographs, the series of the photographs, and I zoom in, and I am still trying to critique these photographs, and I'm still amazed at what's been seen.
Yeah, it's amazing because the stripes give it away completely. Because brown dwarfs have stripes. This object has stripes. It's blue. The stripes in the photograph on the right, the stripes look pale yellow, and it looks like such a beautiful object. It just boggles my mind. It's amazing.
How big do you think this object would be? I know this might be a little harder.
Yeah. So what I did was I compared it with the sun. So it's got a minimum size. That is, if it's right behind the sun, it's got a size that it's about 1/3 of the size of the sun. Just making an estimate, comparing on the left the size of the object with the size of the sun. It's about 1/3 of the size of the sun, which would make it at least 3.3 times the size of Jupiter, because Jupiter is 1/10 of the size of the sun. So it's huge. It's a really huge object.
Wow. Now I've heard people make the comment that you know, Jupiter is, you know, one of the largest planets that we would ever discover. And when I heard that comment, I thought to myself, what an idiotic comment. You know, how would you even know that? To make that type of that's a really, really bold statement. To think that there's not an object in the galaxy or the universe that's bigger than Jupiter. There are stars that basically eclipse the sun and make the sun look like a little dot.
That's right.
So what makes you think that there wouldn't be a substellar object like this big blue baby, and it would be bigger than Jupiter?
Yeah.
So this is like Jupiter's daddy.
Yes. No matter what people thought, the fact is we have this object in the solar system. The evidence lies in the fact that you look through a telescope and you took a picture of it.
More than one.
People nowadays, once, exactly. People nowadays are in the habit of questioning observations because it doesn't fit with the theory. It's supposed to be the other way around. This is an observation. The theories have to change because we have an observation here. If the theories are contrary to this observation, they have to change. That's the way physics is supposed to be.
And I also wanted to add in there for everybody that doesn't know, not only did I photograph this object on May 10th, but then 2 days later, again, just by chance, trying to take some photographs of the sun, I captured this object again on May 12th, but at a different position. This position is about at the, maybe the 8 o'clock position. And when I caught it again on May 12th, it was about at the 10 o'clock position. So we know the object is moving. It is moving through space. I don't know if it's orbiting the sun or you know, maybe it had to do with, you know, the orbit of Earth, but it was pretty close to the same time that I took the first photographs on May 10th.
Okay.
So that would
That's
only make
very
me think that
interesting.
this object is probably moving. It's probably moving, probably orbiting the sun. What do you, I mean,
No.
what do you think? Do you think it would be orbiting the sun?
Well, I think actually it is orbiting the sun, like the other brown dwarf stars seem to be orbiting the sun. It is possible that it's actually orbiting one of the brown dwarf stars, but I actually feel that it's probably not, that it's actually orbiting the sun itself. And I came to the conclusion that this object is not very different from the brown dwarf stars. It's just a little bit more evolved. In other words, it has less electrical potential energy, and its magnetic field is a little even lower, and it's obviously not able to affect the sun in quite the same way. And the fact that it's larger tells you that it's also weaker, because the objects seem to increase in size as they evolve from the white dwarf stage. So I think it is an old star, an evolved star that was once a white dwarf star, and through the course of time has become a brown dwarf, which is basically a huge gas giant planet. So from there, I think it came in with the rest of the brown dwarf stars. They are attracted towards the sun. And that, to me, is evidence of the strong force acting on an astronomical scale. And that I already figured out some weeks ago. So I believe this object is a star as well. That's why it's so close to the sun. But just an old one.
I can't stop staring at this. I can't stop staring at this big blue thing.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be honest with everyone. I want to see this object with my own eyes. I want to see it in the sky. I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care. I want to see it. I don't care if it's, at a distance, but I want to be able to see this. I want to be able to see this damn thing. It is beautiful looking when you're looking at it, the color combinations. I mean, it just, I always thought Jupiter was a really, really cool planet. I was fascinated with it when I was in earth space science in high school. I thought Jupiter was pretty cool, but this is just absolutely amazing. And ladies and gentlemen, I want your opinion while we're looking at this photo again. Does that look like a lens flare? Is that a lens flare? Because if it is, it's pretty big and it's pretty bad, and yeah, looks like a substellar planetary object to me.
Yeah, it couldn't be a lens flare, because where would the stripes come from? The object producing the lens flare would have to have stripes as well. Now, the sun, we know, doesn't have stripes. So there's no way this is a lens flare.
Okay, you know who just joined us? Jeff P. just joined us. He's in the live chat. And I think he wants to come in and say hello to us. So if you just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. I have to go back up here. And Jeff, if you're listening to me now, I'm going to put the link in the live chat. All you have to do is click on the link. Just give me 1 minute. Oh boy. Almost forgot how to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to put the link for him in the live chat.
Okay.
And there we go. Do, 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 do. Okay. All right, we're going to go back to your screen share.
Okay.
And if Jeff clicks on that link, he can jump in here with us and say hello. It's been a couple months since I've actually spoken with Jeff, and I'd like to hear his voice. So let's go ahead and move down to where we were.
Yeah, at the blue brown dwarf, which I named after you. So that was one of the objects, and that we have a size for. Then on May 20th, and that's the object we just found. So if you scroll down again, we found two objects in the HIA SREM images. And yeah, that's the one that you found as well on the SREM images card.
Oh, so we'd be moving down. Listen, Jeff, the link is in the chat, so it's not in your email. The link is in the chat. Okay, so back to this. And this is the image that we just recently caught on the SREM images, SREM. And once again, you know, I mean, there were several other, you know, I heard a couple of YouTube channels saying that this was an anomaly produced by the camera system on the SREM, and it was a ghost image of the sun. So I researched that. I think, okay, you know, we've seen these camera glitches before. I've never seen them on the. Hold on one second here.
Hold on a second.
Okay, you there, Jeff?
Yeah, I had to turn off the YouTube channel.
Was that me talking?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, buddy, I could hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry, last time I was doing all that through my cell phone. I guess I can't. Maybe it's a mobile link. It's different than trying to work through an actual laptop.
Yeah. The last time I had, I put the link for you in the live chat, and I guess you had dipped away there, and some bozo named Eric decided to step in and join us.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I had to immediately kick him to the curb. So Jeff, how you been doing, buddy?
Doing really good, and I've been working on the I've been studying your chats, and I would like to have some conversations with the physicists there about the sun simulator and the lens array and some of the stuff that's been observing in the skies and why it is we can't get a direct view of these planetary objects.
Yeah, I've been watching your videos, buddy, and I'm telling you what, there is not one other person on the face of this planet that has done as much work and has uncovered as much evidence as you have. I don't care what anybody says. Your last couple of videos have pretty much blown me away. That meshing technology that you showed, where were they working on that, at the JPL or something?
Yeah, Caltech and JPL
Caltech
have been working on ultra thin lenses. There, in the video that I said that there's actually two of them, but the one I wanted to key in on, one that uses these silicone nanopillars that would shrink and rotate in size, which I believe would change the density of the material. And as the density would change, the light would bend accordingly to the density of the material it's be bent through. So as light passes through the silicone pillars, it would actually bend the light.
Yeah, that's true. If you change the density, then you change the refractive index, and therefore you would change the focal point of the lens.
Correct. And the other thing I want to say is that this thing was capable of multiple focal points acting as a display, or one giant focal point.
Interesting.
So the way it was really amazing. If you really stop and think about how this would work, it was like an LCD display, but instead of having the pixels, the LCD each pixel, you've got a nanopillar.
I see.
And it's being manipulated on a, what they call that, the electrode sublayer, where on an XY axis it can control each LCD. Now it's controlling each nanopillar.
Jeff, do you think there's more than one of these sun simulators up there, or just one?
I think that there are probably two of them, because now I've never really talked about the lunar one, but I do believe that they use a silver plated one, and I do suspect that they've been using the James Webb Telescope as one of the components for it. The shape of the JPL, what about the James Webb Telescope that was supposed to launch in 2018?
Yeah,
I think it's already been there. It seems to fit the model perfectly, the way that the light, the shape of the pattern that everybody's showing online is one of the components for it.
And you said the lunar one. You mean describe what you mean, a lunar. You mean it's on the moon or near the moon?
It's both of these objects, I believe, are orbiting around the Earth, always in front of the moon. And because I think the system here, I've been observing, I actually had a video that showed the sun go from a partial eclipsed moon to a full moon and then back to a partial eclipse as it was setting within like a half an hour.
How the hell is that even possible?
That's what I'm saying. So something is lighting up this. Something's like lighting up the moon as it sets. So
I know not too long ago, I think a few weeks ago, the last full moon, or it was pretty close to the last full moon. At about midnight, the moon, if you walk out of the front door of my house, the moon is directly across the street from me and up in the sky. And that usually occurs between 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning. And I viewed it, and I took a few photographs of it the night before. And the next evening, the next night, early morning, I walked outside at 4:45 a.m. and it was still in the same damn position. How is that possible?
It's not.
That's impossible. We're talking about a 3.5 hour time difference. How would the moon be at the same position? Well, actually, it was across the street, but this time it wasn't very high in the sky. It was very low. And from my perception, it would look like that it was maybe a couple of thousand feet above my neighbor's house at 4:45 a.m. But the day before, at about 1 a.m., it looked very, very high in the sky. But it should have been moving away. It should have been moving towards the east. I'm sorry, moving towards the west. And it just stayed right where it was at. And then I was looking at it, and I'm thinking, okay, are they now like showing us a holographic image of the damn moon, or what?
Yeah, I've always thought so, Scott, that they're using a holographic projector in front of the simulator, either a moon simulator or a sun simulator, so that anybody looking at it or turning a telescope towards it would actually see an image of the sun or the moon. And so
Jeff, you actually think that there are two of these objects that are in some type of a geosynchronized orbit?
Well, one would be a heliosynchronous orbit, where it's always underneath, it's always between the sun and the Earth.
Okay.
The other, I'm not sure what orbit you'd even call that, because it's tracking with the moon.
That is absolutely. Now, see, that's something else that I want to see. I want to see. I want to see this big blue planet. I want to see some of these things with my own eyes, but I also want to see, 100% proof that they've been trying to fool us this whole entire time with these sun simulators. And I know they're up there. We've talked about this, me and you, we've talked about this for hours on end before. And you know, what's really amazing me as of lately, and you may want to throw some input on here, but this absolutely outrageous levels of ultraviolet. It is so intense. Mr. MMBB333 did a video yesterday where he lined up crayons in the perfect spectrum pattern on a piece of white poster paper, and he laid them on a chair facing the sun, and in time lapse he recorded all of this, and they started melting and dripping and running down the white piece of poster board as he was measuring the ultraviolet at 14.34.
Wow.
And the only ones in the whole array of colored crayons, the only ones that didn't melt was the white one and the pale yellow and the orange. All of the rest just exploded.
Wow. Did you see the one that he did where he was in his car and he had the license plate flashing?
Oh, yeah. I did see that.
Okay, I was the last one to leave a comment on his channel because the trolls came and said, oh, it's the sound system from his car, the license plate was vibrating, blah, blah, blah. Nobody completely ignored my last comment saying that if you go back and watch that video, you will see the light that's synchronized flashing on his plate, flashing on the window of the car next to it.
I did notice that.
So nobody even touched that comment. It was absolutely ignored. It was like, so, and by the way, if it was the sound system that, you know, if it was that loud to vibrate the license plate, you should have heard it in the audio of the video itself. And there was another video, a few videos back before him, they actually captured a flickering sun on another YouTube channel. It actually caught it flickering. Now, I have seen this too, but I never had my camera available. So now I'm really watching hard. If anybody's got videos of the flickering sun, a direct shot of it, please capture it on the ground and in the sky, because you will see the real light. It's, to me, that is just proof positive that this thing is absolutely fake.
Yeah, I did see that video
that
he put up. I think some lady sent that video footage into him, and you know, I did do a video several months back where I had a subscriber send me some video in that she recorded right like out in her backyard, and there were what looked to be lightning bolts coming out of the side of the sun, and it was a pretty amazing video. But I myself, not too long ago, maybe a little bit over a month ago, I was driving down the road. It was a crystal clear day. There were no clouds in the sky, and I stopped at a store, and just as I got out of my car, I noticed, just with my eyes, I wasn't looking up, just normal walking, and it seemed like a big shadow just went over me, the parking lot, the building, and it was about maybe 2 or 3 seconds, and everything had a shadow cast over it. And then as I turned around real quick and I went to grab my sunglasses and put them on, it was gone. And I still can't figure that out. That would have to be something passing in front of the sun momentarily to create that type of effect. It wasn't a bird, it wasn't a plane. Those are too small of objects to be casting that type of massive shadow, you know, onto a huge store and a huge parking lot, and for me to notice it instantaneously with my eyes. And I still don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, but it was pretty amazing. And I just stood there for a few minutes, looking around, to see, because there was other people in the parking lot, and I wanted to see if anybody else had noticed it. But people nowadays, man, they're walking around, they don't even know what's going on. So again, it was one of those WTF moments, like what just happened?
Right.
But I tell you what, some of the last couple of videos that you've done, I've actually had to watch them. I watched them over and over again because I was just in complete amazement. I think it was the last video that you did, and you went back and you showed that that footage of how it's breaking down, and it looks like that mesh substance in the rays of the sun.
Exactly.
Man,
I watch that site all the time, and when I saw it breaking down like that, what really alerted me to it was another channel called Identify This, and she's been seeing some freaky stuff on there, and I always agree with it, but it wasn't compelling enough for me to actually make a post of it. And I thought about it and thought about it. I go, wait a minute, that's that exact same lens pattern that I've captured from the lens array that she's actually posting in all her videos. And one thing that I'm starting to notice, that one YouTuber said, one of my subscribers says, so this has coated the whole sky. I said, no, I don't think it's got the entire sky like a Truman Show. I believe this thing is actually parked in a constellation that's near the Orion star system constellation. But it's not in an orbit that we see. It's not going to rotate with our normal stars. So if you were to like stargaze, you're going to watch, this, everything in the sky should orbit to the east. But this will actually, so everything that I found is always in the Orion constellation, and one more thing I'd like to add is the fake sun and is susceptible for viewing near the horizon because of the angle between the sun and the fake sun. So what I think we've been seeing are two suns in the sky. And this is where we see the abnormalities, and that's why I think they're really heavy chemtrailing during these abnormalities at the horizon. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Me and the doctor were just talking about this chemtrailing crap earlier this morning. And where I live, I mean, you can set your watch by the chemtrailing. I mean, at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if it's a clear day, they're going to destroy it. I mean, they are out there. I don't know how many of those drone planes or whatever they're using. At some point in time, I'm watching them, and I can't even imagine those being actual pilots flying those planes. Those planes are moving so fast, and those patterns, well, number one, I mean, it looks like they're very, very close together to create those patterns. And, we have FAA federal regulations not permitting planes like that size to fly that close together.
Well, I was told from a leaked source that basically those pilots get in those planes and it's all AI after that. All
hell no.
Pilot's going to do is take off and land. It's all
I would never. Man, you couldn't give me any amount of money in the world to do something like that. No way. I wouldn't do it, man. That's just absolutely incredible. And I was watching them back in January and February, and they were actually out a little bit earlier. They would come out around noon, and they would chemtrail the living hell out of the sun, block it out completely. And like I've said before, I think this time around they're using either a different substance or a different method of causing this dispersion, because before, it would create those clouds, big clouds that just wouldn't move anywhere. This time, it just seems like it's a fine mist. It dissipates quickly, but then it puts that haze around or over the entire sky. And then, you know, you've done a lot with all of these sun halos. And I mean, I see a sun halo now every single time the sun is out and they chemtrail. About an hour later, that big sun halo comes out.
So let me touch on that topic of these dark halos that we've been seeing. Only in the year 2017, we've been getting these dark halos. You had made a video about an object on the Secchi taking an object passing in front of the sun for 3 days, correct?
Yeah.
And you had Astro Boy saying this was the moon orbiting around the Earth. What a joke.
Yeah, yeah, we were talking about
I find that coinciding with the dark halos, because a pattern that I'm noticing with the chemtrails is that when they start the chemtrail, we'll see the dark halos, and they chemtrail for at least 3 days. Now, and then we get clear skies for 4 days, 6 days, somewhere about there. And right now over California, we've been getting clear skies. So where are these planes now? Were these commercial jetliners because they cancel flights? You know, American, Delta, Southwest, did they just like stop flying planes in front? No. Now that you know that they're government planes. And one thing you're going to notice, it really, I think, is they're obscuring. They get everybody used to the idea of being chemtrails and these fake clouds, and the public has swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker.
No doubt.
But now people are like going, wait a minute, you know that those are planes. So why do we get 4 days of clear skies? Well, that's because they're not being eclipsed. These solar eclipses, so I knew it from the very beginning. Why would we have a fake sun? The biggest purpose is so we still get something shining in the sky. People are not going to freak out when our sun gets eclipsed.
That's going to freak a lot of people out.
Oh, we'd freak out hard. I have personally experienced, and in fact, I had a video, I had a witness. When I watch these halos, about 15 minutes during the halo, you will feel a loss of heat on your face.
Correct.
And you will see the sky kind of dim down. I'll even notice it on the cameras. I'll check out the camera settings on the cameras from around the world. You will see the ones that can allow you to do it, like Addicted Sports. You'll see no ISO change at all, and yet you'll watch the light dim out, and the sun is still up in the sky. What's different? And it's about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I was standing. I had just come out of a Walmart a few weeks back, and the Walmart is in a massive, massive plaza, and they even have a big Lowe's shopping center over there. And the entire parking lot's probably the size of about 3 football fields. It's huge, and you know, you have a nice big bright view of the sky. And when I came out of Walmart, I noticed immediately. I just put my dark sunglasses on, and I noticed this big sun halo. So I went over to my car real quick, grabbed my cell phone, and I was standing in the middle of the parking lot right next to my car, and I was trying to grab some film footage of it. And while I had the phone up there videotaping this huge sun halo, just as you've said, in the first minute, it was literally burning my face. I couldn't even stand it anymore.
Exactly. The ultraviolet light just fries your eyes.
Yeah, and then like I could feel it on my forehead, and I could feel it on my cheekbones and my face. And then after about a minute, no temperature, no heat,
exactly. Yes.
Nothing. And that kind of startled me, and I put the phone down. Like I was like, what the hell just happened? You know, because it wasn't burning my face anymore, and it feels like a damn magnifying glass on your skin.
So the physicist thought, what, you have any thoughts on all this?
Yes, Jeff, I've looked at a lot of your videos, especially at the beginning, because I was looking at the sun simulators as well. And I think you're probably correct. They are probably in orbit. I'm not sure how far they would actually put one of these objects because, as you know, the sun is so enormous compared with the Earth. So it wouldn't have to be that far out. It's just not within human capabilities of building something like that.
Right.
But obviously it's out there. And you do say that there are two perhaps out there in orbit, and I believe that. But I think there are more of them. I think they actually have some new ones that are operating within the Earth's atmosphere. Because I've seen pictures of these objects that are within clouds. So you see cloud in front and cloud behind. And these look much more circular than the ones that we had before. And I've seen them myself. I mean, as I was driving to work, I would see this object, and obviously it didn't look like the sun. And they can even change the color of it. I've noticed now. They can even make it look sort of pink. Because they're hiding the fact that some of the clouds on Earth are being illuminated by some objects that are emitting pink light. And I've noticed all that. So I think they've actually come up with a new version that operates within the Earth's atmosphere. Because don't forget that the Earth is a large place. And within the same time scale, there are a lot of sections on Earth that would have to see that same object. So they would have to have ones for different sections on the planet. That's what I think. Okay. And they use them to simulate the moon as well, I've noticed. So if you see one that is not moving, that is just still, it's still because it's not actually the moon. The moon would never be able to stay in one place in the sky. So it would be one of these objects that is just, they use them to cover things in the sky. So for example, if there's a planet that you don't want a certain region on Earth to see, you put a sun simulator or a moon simulator there so they don't see it. And I think that's why they are using them. I think you've come up with very good ideas regarding the lenses that they use. I think you've done great work on that. I did some work on that as well. Also wanted to figure out what was going on, why we were not seeing these objects. And plus, how do they make these objects look like diffuse sunlight is coming off them? So obviously that's the lenses in the grid pattern that they put in front of them. So yes, I think you've done very good work, Jeff.
Yeah, some of Jeff's videos, well, all of them are we've talked about them before, but these last several, Jeff, have been, I mean, that's like some serious discovery right there, because I know for a fact that they have thought, many, many years in advance of what they were going to do, how they were going to cover this up. They knew that this was going to be an event that would last for years, and that people would be able to see these objects at some point in time. And then that would raise a lot of questions, because people would be seeing it all around the world. And then sure enough, because all of us have drawn so much attention to the sky now, people are looking up. People are taking the photographs and just sometimes inadvertently catching things and then looking at the picture and saying, oh, wow. And then they watch a YouTube video from me or Jeff or somebody else, and they're like, holy shit, look at this. This is what this guy's talking about, and then hopefully the photograph gets emailed into you and you're able to examine it, or the video footage. And that's what's been happening, over the course of the last year. And like I said, I watch a whole array of information on YouTube, and, hands down, you got the best information as far as these sun simulators go. It's absolutely no doubt about it. Like I said, the last couple of videos, man, I had to watch them 3-4 times. That one portion where you go back and forth and you show that breakdown, man, I'm like, wow, they're really there. They're really there.
Even my jaw dropped. I'm like, I couldn't believe it, because I watch that all the time. To see it break down before my bare eyes just validated what I've been watching.
Yeah, I started seeing some of these. I started seeing some of these crazy anomalies like that in those FAA cameras up there in Alaska. But you know, as of lately, you're coming up with just some spectacular footage of these damn things breaking down. There's absolutely no doubt. So, sorry, Doctor, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the sun halos, because when I saw what Jeff was doing with the sun halos, I thought, that's it. Because I've been trying to figure out what these sun halos are. And I've reached the conclusion that they may not necessarily be planets. They could be planets. They could actually just be a type of shield that they put in place. Don't forget that we found that the sun is not even circular anymore. In one of those articles that I wrote, and from the pictures that you took on May 10th, that the sun is not circular. It's got an indentation on the south pole, which in the picture looks like it's on the right. So the sun is not even circular. So they have to make sure that the sun looks circular to us. That's why they need so many simulators. And then the fact that there are objects coming in front of the sun, and they have to sometimes just put a shield in front of the sun and put a simulator in front of the shield. So then that would create this kind of halo effect, because there's light coming from the back. And I think some of the halos are created like that. And I think I got the idea from you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, something else that I continuously wonder about is the International Space Station and what those bozos are doing up there. They've been up there for so many years, back and forth. And, you know, I listened to some of their commentary, crap, and they're doing experiments. Okay. Well, you've been up there for so many years. How many experiments can you actually do from a tin can floating around in outer space? What can you actually do? I actually think that they have something to do with these sun simulators. And, you know, a couple of times you watch this object rising, and it's supposed to be the sun, but it looks like some really exotic looking LED type headlight. I mean, it's shaped like a spiked diamond of some kind.
Yeah, it's
right.
they're actually reflecting lasers off a reflector. That's what I figured out. When I first looked at it, I thought, wow, it looks like the lasers being emitted from it.
From what?
From that sun simulator up that the
from the
ISS.
simulator, okay.
That International Space Station.
But they actually, what they're doing is they're taking laser beams and they're reflecting it off a reflecting plate, or a disc, a reflecting disc. That's why it's got that background. It looks circular, that dark circular background. And then in the middle, they aim all these lasers at the middle of it. And it reflects the light. And they possibly also put a lens somewhere in front there to make it a bit diffuse. And I think that's how it works. But it's definitely not the sun. I never thought it was from the first time.
So you're
I
saying
saw it.
the lasers act as the light source itself?
Yeah, what they do is they take laser beams and they aim them at the plate.
Okay.
And the plate reflects the lasers back towards the camera. So the middle, where all the lasers are aimed at, looks bright to the camera.
And that's how you get the white light from a laser. But let's say if you use lasers, they're going to be different colors, right? So it would be like a red laser?
Yeah,
or...
I think they're using white light lasers. But so they probably mix together. Yeah, they probably mixing them already before they even yeah. So they probably mix, so they're white light.
Technology.
Yeah. So so a single laser beam will look white. I think that's what they're doing.
I'm calling NASA right now. I want the damn truth.
They will never give it to you, Scott.
Yeah,
you know
I know.
that.
They'll put a bullet in my head before they spill those beans.
So I was looking at the the chat room here, and people want to look for these halos, and all I gotta say is this: is when you got the clear skies, it was going to be about 4 to 6 days, and when they begin to spray, that's when you can wait for it. Sometime during the course of the day, you are going to get your halo.
Oh yeah, you will get it. You will get it beyond a shadow of a doubt.
You're going to go for 3 whole days, because that's how long it takes for whatever it is to pass in front of the sun. And I would like, Scott, if you could watch those SETI images to see if you can catch it at the same time.
Oh yeah, I'm reviewing those sites every single day. It just so happened last week I didn't review pretty much anything because I was really busy. My grandmother had passed away the week before, and then the following week I had so many things to do pertaining to her house and getting things packed up and that whole mess. But it just so happened that I was sitting down on the sofa and trying to relax for a little bit, and something just hit me right between the eyes and said, hey, listen, get up, go fire the computer up, and go to the SETI. And I did, and I went right to the SREM imaging. And I don't know if you saw that piece of footage that we captured, but there's this massive spinning Jupiter-looking object right there in front of your eyes, and it stays there for about 2.5 to 3 days. On the 19th through the, it was the end of the 18th through the 21st of May. And it's crazy looking.
You could actually see it still on the 22nd, I think.
Oh yeah, it blended into the 22nd?
Yes.
Did you see that footage, Jeff?
I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at it.
I'll tell you what, I think I got a short clip of it.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
pull it up here real quick because it still, blows me away to look at it. I'll pull it up here on the screen real quick.
I had a subscriber send me photos, and this, remember that sun simulator that there's an exact spot on the Earth. In my last video, you could see the spinning Fresnel lens, like a funnel of light coming down to the Earth. And this UseCube subscriber sent me photos, and his house was in the perfect alignment with that. And it sent like this bright diamond square thing on his garage.
Wow.
Oh my.
That's amazing.
I like to show you those videos at some point.
There it goes. Are you able to see that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Look at that thing. It's spinning, man. And this is the
look at
Earth.
the electrical. I've got some kind of weird feedback. I wonder if it's my let's see, turn this off. Do I have feedback now?
No, I can hear you good.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I've got everything turned off. Yeah, that's awesome though.
But this was it. Yeah, this was the Earth right here where my cursor
I saw
is.
that one actually. I was watching that.
Yeah, this object is quite
the defined surface here. I think it's huge. Is that the Earth?
Yeah, I calculated its size. It's 1.1 times the size of Jupiter.
Oh, okay. Is this the object you were saying that was like defined between like a planet and a sun or a dwarf?
Yeah, this one I think is a brown dwarf star because the surface looks like plasma to me. I don't think it's probably rotating, but that watery kind of substance you see on it to me looks like plasma. Yeah. And the moment I see plasma, I say it's a brown dwarf star. It hasn't gone into the brown dwarf stage yet, where it's not plasma. It's just a gaseous atmosphere with cloud formations, like Jupiter. So it becomes a sort of a gas giant planet. But you can see the debris, the gas the ionized gas all over the solar system, but that's not in the background. That's in the inner solar system. And all that ionized gas has been brought in by the brown dwarf stars that are here now. And then you can see the jets going right across the image, and the brown dwarf stars are very prone to having these kind of jet ejections. And you were talking about the sun flashing. I've actually seen some images, some core 2 images where the sun itself seems to be flashing.
Oh, the sun actually flashed.
The sun actually is flashing because its energy is being drawn, and it's becoming, I think, a bit unstable.
Right.
Because there's so many of these objects, I think, around it now.
Yeah, and these jets, if you look up here,
Yeah.
you're going to see a jet shoot out of there, and I mean, there it goes right there. Where the hell is that coming from?
Mm.
It's right up here, and then down here in the lower left-hand corner, we're seeing jets come directly diagonally upward on there. So
right, look at the direction of it. Yeah,
exactly. They're coming from all over the place. They're not coming from the sun. So there's absolutely no way that is happening. Let me adjust this gamma.
I've got a question for the physicist thoughts. I wonder if have you considered Walter Russell's cubic waveform theories?
No, I haven't even heard of it, Jeff.
You should really look into it, because it. No, okay. I'm onto the electric universe theories, and Walter Russell, he's actually got patents of and redefined the entire periodical elemental charts of how they appear as actual pure energy, not actual particles. And he shows this.
Well, that makes sense, because from my observation, yeah, I'll look it up, because from my observation of the stars themselves, I realized that mass, and this is mind blowing for any physicist. I realized that mass is not an intrinsic property of matter. That is electric potential energy dependent. So I see stars as forming with a certain electrical potential energy, which they use throughout their lives. And when they start aging, that is, they go into the red giant phase, that's when the electric potential energy is dropping, and they're no longer able to do what they were supposed to do. Then they go into the red giant phase, they then go into white dwarf phase, and then they go on evolving, the electric potential energy decreasing all the time. And then we see these brown dwarf stars in the solar system, and they're larger and they're a lot less massive than white dwarf stars. But they have some of the same capabilities, like drawing plasma from the sun. So what I deduced is, as these objects evolve, obviously the electric potential energy decreases, but at the same time, their mass decreases without appreciable matter ejection. So they're not losing matter, they're losing mass. In other words, the mass that the matter is associated with is decreasing, or the gravitational field is associated to the electric potential energy they have. So that leads to the fact that mass is not intrinsic, dependent on the energy the star has. And this is mind-blowing for me. And this is what I discovered by just observing these objects in the solar system.
So my theory with our sun and the Nemesis star, the basic nature of our sun is an electromechanical nature, always in a state of discharging, or excuse me, charging. Basically a negative charge, which, like Maxwell's equations discovered that frequency has two natures. We have the electrical wave, and then you got the magnetic wave. And this is all explained in the Walter Russell cubic waveform theory, that it's all part of a giant wave cycle. That with our magnetic Nemesis star is approaching with its magnetic, stealing away the energy from our sun, that I think that there's going to be a point when these two stars are going to basically balance each other out. There'll be a neutral point. And then as they
Yeah.
begin to separate over time, it'll start to eventually charge back up again. And that's what I think the elites have prepared for with, you saw have you seen the fake sun that they actually created and turned it on with all these mercury lamps?
Yes,
yeah.
yes, in Germany, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a report on the
see-
one that the Germans turned
Yeah.
on.
So if
yeah,
you go to my
just
channel, oh, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to tell you, I don't believe, I've looked at the electrical theories, and most of them will say that the sun and all stars will continuously charge up from the electric currents in the galaxy. Now, I don't think that's actually what is going on. And the reason why I don't believe that's what's going on is because stars age. They get old. They become white dwarf stars. They run out of fuel. In other words, they would have to, the electric currents would have to stop, which is not likely. So that's why I came up with the idea that stars actually have, all like a battery, they have internal energy that is there from the time that they were formed. I still believe they were formed mainly through the Z pinching effect.
Right.
But that creates a star as a battery with a certain amount of energy that will take it through its life.
So you've
And
seen
that
that part of
energy
it, how stars are being created
Yeah.
in these Birkeland currents, right? When the current gets strong enough,
That's
the whole
right.
thing gets knotted up and you have a birth of a star, right?
That's right. That's what I believe. And that I also believe that stars, when the battery inside them, the electric potential energy is too high, they become unstable and they eject part of themselves, which becomes another star. And that's why we have so many binary systems. And the reason I believe that is because I know from Halton Arp's work on galaxies that galaxies are actually ejected from active galactic nuclei as quasars. And that happens when the active galactic nuclei gets extremely bright and unstable. And then it ejects part of the matter away from the galaxy. So I think stars do the same thing. It's the same pattern happening in galaxies and in stars. So that's how I built my theories on what's happening in the solar system. So I believe that there's still thermonuclear reactions. And I've just written a paper where I explain that I think that the reactions, the fusion reactions that are happening are actually cold fusion, not hot fusion, because you have to have input from the electric potential energy of the star. And then you have to have a catalyst, and then the star is able to have fusion reactions at a much lower temperature than expected. And then that heat from the surface of the star goes up into the corona. And that's the reason why the corona is so hot and much hotter than the surface of the star. But so it means that I have to combine thermonuclear reaction powering a star and the fact that it's an electrical star, except the fusion reactions are happening on the surface, not in the center. That I don't think it's possible.
Are you familiar with the plasma primer field, where they've been using?
Yes, I am.
They can create galaxies with plasma.
That's right. Yeah, I've noticed about that, because I believe, you see, the same thing happens with galaxies that I think are happening in stars. Basically, you can form a galaxy through these interactions of plasma, ionized gas, huge amounts of ionized gas that are interacting, and they start circling each other, and basically a galaxy can be formed in that way. Basically, it's the Z-pinch effect again, as far as I'm concerned, or you can explain it in terms of interacting, what does he call it, primitive fields. And I think it is basically the same thing. So you get galaxies forming in that fashion, and then you get galaxies giving birth to other galaxies by ejecting quasars. And the same thing happens with stars. Stars are born through the Z-pinch effect, and stars are born through being ejected from other stars.
Yeah, it's all very
Both
interesting
things.
how the energy reacts and creating these magnetic fields and gathers more energy, and it's just a continuous cycle that we've been watching.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Jeff, did you by chance see that that big blue striped object that I caught in my telescope? The one that looks like Jupiter?
Yes.
That
did you guys see that its stripes was due to its electrical surface, or it was changing shape or appearance as it approaches our sun, or what was going on with that?
I haven't come up with any evidence that it has changed. I think what happens is the brown dwarf stars, once they run out of energy to run their fusion reactions and so on, they change into these objects. In other words, the gaseous envelopes turns into not an ionized gaseous cloud surrounding the star, but rather into this gaseous envelope and atmosphere that becomes what we see here. And it has cloud formations. In other words, certain parts in the ionized cloud, and because the object is rotating, forms these stripes in the atmosphere of the object. I haven't actually written about that yet, but I have been thinking about it, so I will eventually.
You know, I thought I'd seen this on the International Space Station pictures, but not as clear as this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did catch, one of my subscribers did catch this object. We did a live stream about it. It was kind of a different color, though. It had some kind of brownish tones and some reddish tones and yellow tones in it. Because I had asked the doctor the same thing. Are these objects able to change their colors when they get closer to the sun? Would there be some type of interaction that would cause them to, you know, just completely change in coloration? And this damn thing, you know, this was by accident, Jeff. I mean, I had my telescope out. Wow. I was wanting to catch some photographs of the sun setting, and I had a filter on the camera, or on the lens, and I was trying to just get a perfect shot of the sun without the corona around it, the rays of the sun. I just wanted the damn ball of the sun. That's it. I wanted to see just that. And
so was this taken in the southwest sky?
This was directly at 6:45 p.m. directly due west.
West. Okay. I noticed west and southwest is where I'm seeing most of the stuff.
Yeah, it was. This was actually just a little bit over to the north, but I would just basically say it was almost dead on west, because the back of my house faces due north, and if I look out to the left, it is exactly due west, dead on. And I really couldn't see what I was looking at during the photographs, and then I only took a few of them, and the sun was just, it got too bright. This big, massive black cloud that was in my way for like an hour. It wouldn't move. It was directly in front of the sun, and it was given a pretty good light show, you know, with the rays of the sun coming up out of the top of the cloud. But I'm watching these other small white clouds just drift on by and go on their merry way, but this big black UFO cloud wouldn't move. And then all of a sudden, it started to move, and it moved out of the way. And the telescope and the camera, laptop, everything was all set up. And I said, oh God, let me get a few pictures before this cloud comes back. And I just started snapping off a few pictures, and I really couldn't see that well because the sun was blasting me in the face. I couldn't see. And then when I came inside, loaded the photographs into the computer and started looking at them, I was like, you know, I had one of those big WTF moments. I'm like, whoa, what the hell is this? and this was on May 10th, between 6:45 and 7:45 p.m. And then 2 days later, I went out there, set everything up again, and I was going to do the same thing. But this time, I caught the same object at the 11 o'clock position on the 12th, and on the 10th, I caught it at the 8 o'clock position at the same exact time of day. So that's only telling me one thing. This thing is definitely moving. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And you know, one thing I've just noticed, Scott, it's got what seems to be almost like craters. Not necessarily craters, but they are darker circles in it.
Yeah, I noticed it too, because I was zooming into it.
Yeah.
It seems to have a large one here. It seems to have another larger one here, and here.
Yeah.
And there's
definitely.
We actually got several different views of it from the different days. Oh, that's a hurricane.
Yeah.
But you know, see this.
And
is
I was
a good
thinking
shot.
about. Yeah, I was thinking about what you said about it changing color. Well, if that first image you had that an astronomer sent you, where it was yellow, if that was in true color, then we could definitely say that these objects change color. And I mean, it's not impossible, because these are basically stars as well, just older than the brown dwarf stars. So it's possible that as they can absorb electric potential energy from the sun as well, and therefore it's possible they change the coloring.
Yeah, no, this one I just turned it into. I used a filter on one of the other photographs to try to get a little bit more clarity.
That looks like the one we caught at Bondi Beach. Is that the same one?
Exactly, man. We were comparing it to that damn thing on Bondi Beach. And dude, it looks exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Right.
You know, that's,
of course, there could be more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you said you saw craters on it, would that mean it's not a gas planet?
No, even though they are gas planets, if other objects impact into it, what it does, it leaves what looks like a crater, but it's actually a sort of a hole that forms like inside the object. The surface. Yes, that's right.
Oh, okay,
because
right, like we saw Jupiter, right?
Exactly. The same thing happens with Jupiter. It forms like a scar on the surface of the atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, it does resemble Jupiter a lot. I mean, it really does, you know, resemble Jupiter. But I mean, we know it's not Jupiter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
But it's still some amazing photographs. The trolls went ahead and after we made this discovery, they went ahead and they put my face, the doctor's face, and Chris Potter's face on the front of Astronomy magazine.
Yeah.
Hey,
we should thank them for that. That was nice
I mean, what the hell? Rightfully so. You know, somebody should be sending me a big fat paycheck. You know, for some crazy discovery like this. And then all of the videos came out, and they were basically saying, this is a lens flare. This is a lens flare. Well, look, I've seen tens of thousands of lens flares throughout my time, you know, and I'm sure you've seen them too, Jeff. I mean,
you can't lens flare that thing anymore, man.
I know, right? So I've never seen a lens flare look like that before, but it's definitely, you know, an amazing discovery. I still take days and, you know, I look at it, and this was a photograph that we inverted. This was one of the photographs taken on the 10th. And this really brought out some detail in this object.
Yes.
I'm gonna just go ahead and get rid of this so we can see it once again. Yeah, it's a big lens flare, man. That's the craziest looking lens flare that I've ever seen, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's all sort of lens flare. That's a lens refraction, reflection. I mean, these idiots use these terms where they don't even know the definition of refraction.
You know, that's what bothers me. It's like they prey upon people's ignorance of actual science. You know,
Correct.
people they'll use a generic term, and people like won't even investigate like technology. Oh, it's a camera artifact or some, you know, it's a CMOS on the lens or whatever. Anything.
Yeah, just like the spider. You know, back when you were catching that footage over there in Europe. Yeah, that's a spider, Jeff. It's a spider on the lens. Okay. Yeah.
Right. It's just going to hang there all day after day on multiple cameras at the same time. Okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing spider. Spider-Man, you know, does whatever a spider can. Yeah, they do come up with some pretty stupid, you know, comments. But, you know, this time around, whenever I started taking these pictures apart, you know, I was pretty thrown back from what I was seeing. And I still am, you know, I mean, there's not a day that goes by I don't pull these up and you know, and look at them and say, wow, what the hell is that? You know, and you could see, I don't know if it's some of the scarring on the planet, but you can clearly see it's definitely rotating. We had different views of it, and we are seeing some things going on this object. And, you know, we've discovered, well, just through the whole brown dwarf research, that, you know, these objects, they have weather patterns. There was just an article that came out not too long ago where they detected ice at the northern and southern poles of a brown dwarf star. And guess what color it was? Blue, just like the one I just showed you, but it was an artist's rendition, and it was a lot, you know, it was just an artist's conception. But yes, the light color blues and the dark color blues. And I've watched a lot of seminars and conferences that were put together by Harvard and Cornell with all of these astronomers and physicists and astrophysicists going over recent brown dwarf discoveries. I sat through 9 hours of this, and they even detected a group of brown dwarf stars, a whole group of 6 or 7 of them, and then observations 6 months later, they were all scattered everywhere, but still detectable. So there's a lot of still amazing information coming out. And then they admitted that they need more evidence, but they can't get it from NASA because they have to use NASA's information because they own all the damn space probes, satellites, and telescopes.
Right.
And they need the funding, and they won't get it. And then one of the astrophysicists admitted that whenever we are seeing the information coming from all of the sun-facing probes, stereo, you know, SOHO, SETI, and we only see the intermittent time, like every 2 hours, every 4 hours, or whatever, or every 16 minutes. But they said that they have the live feed information, and they get it consistently, nonstop. No 10 minutes, no 16 minutes, no 2-hour intervals. Yeah. They get it straight through.
Yeah, they have a continuous feed.
Yes. Right. We get the edited versions of it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I know,
and
I mean, I know for a fact that people like myself and the doctor and you and many others investigating this. I know that we are driving them crazy. I know that we are driving them insane.
You know what? They're making up whole videos trying to debunk my fake sun video, which is almost a compliment. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll find a click on a link like, wow. I wonder if, you know, they say like, yeah, Jeff P is saying this, but how could that be possible? They don't show you all the truth and they lead you in the wrong direction. And many of these people come to my channel and become believers because they just watch the whole video. You know, they just leave out bits and pieces to lead you in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do the same thing to me. I mean, listen, dude, in the course of a day, I've been counting. There's 15 videos a day that come out about me. 15.
Yeah.
Every day.
I probably like 20 websites that try and debunk my channel. I'm like lunatic.com and all these government paid websites that we're posting us a bunch of lunatics out here.
Well, you know, I've put this out there, and one of the troll channels, the Truth Nerd, he went surfing through the internet to find paranormal orbs in a graveyard that looked like this object. And it was so far off, and the video was so ridiculous, but yet they make the video and then they all share it on their channels. And the only people that are watching it are the trolls. So they actually think that they're making some type of a difference when they're not earning their paycheck, because nobody is paying attention to you. And nobody is going to think that you went into a cemetery and took photographs in the dark of paranormal looking orbs. And listen, I mean, I've been into the paranormal for more than 20 years. I have my own paranormal society team. I've been doing that for 22 years. And I've analyzed thousands of photographs of paranormal type orbs. I know the difference between dust, bugs, and, you know, what there is in the paranormal world that people may not want to believe. But that's a whole different subject. But yes, they make the most ridiculous videos and they expect people to believe it. But they're not earning their paycheck. That much is for sure.
Yep.
But this thing here, you know, whenever I was looking at this, you know, zooming in, I mean, come on. And then I got accused of being like a digital artist, like a digital engineer. Listen, dude, I don't own Photoshop. I can't afford Photoshop. I've never used Photoshop, and I'm not a digital expert where I could do something like this, nor did I have anybody do something like this.
Yeah.
But it's pretty breathtaking to see it. And, you know, just like Jupiter has that big hurricane that just stays there and churns away, I was thinking that if these were not like any type of a crater, then these may be,
yeah,
they may be storms of some kind. I mean, you know, we don't know because, you know, we don't have that super duper technology. But it's pretty cool.
Yep.
It is indeed.
Yeah. Then I noticed the other day that you know, Steve Olson had this photograph on his channel. He only kept it on his screen for about 3 seconds, and he got rid of it real quick. I mean, I didn't mind, you know, but if some people would just do the right thing and you know, like we were before, we could all collaborate together and, you know, get the information together and share the information so everyone can see it, because we all have a kind of a set amount of subscribers, and, you know, YouTube has battered our YouTube channels, you know, censoring them. I don't know what they've done, but, you know, I used to have at least 1,000 new subscribers every single month.
You know what?
And now,
since we're on that topic, I'd like to say that anybody who's watching any of our channels, any Truth or channel about, especially about Planet X, you will not be getting notifications from YouTube if you don't turn on your notifications to actually get it as an email.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't tell you how many people will say, I'll post another video. You will, if you look at the thing, your little number 1 next to it normally, but now you're not getting anything. It'll actually even unsubscribe you.
Oh yeah,
So
I've had a bunch of that too. I've had a bunch of that. You just have to go to our
channel. If you don't want to turn on the notification, you just got to go to, like, I do my videos like once in 2 weeks or whatever. When I find something really compelling, I'll make a video. So just anybody who's listening, you want to make sure that you just got to visit the channels regularly, because you will not be getting notifications. That is part of the YouTube police to do that.
Oh yeah, they've ruined both of my YouTube channels. I used to have at least 1,000 views an hour. I could put a YouTube video up, and as I hit the button to process it and it hits YouTube live, before I could flip back over to the main screen, I would see 500 views instantaneously.
Yeah.
Now it's 12, 14, you know, then the amount of views, I would average about 1,000 views per hour all the way through a 24-hour period. And, you know, my channel would average anywhere from 25,000 to 35,000, 45,000 views. Now they've got that all the way down to 2,000 or 3,000. But I know that people are watching the videos. And then, you know, they are putting people's regular comments into the spam folder.
Yeah.
And people are just making regular comments. They're like, where did my comment go? I don't know. Then I have to go to the spam folder. Then I have to look at it, approve it, click on it, you know, throw it into the regular comments. So they're basically doing everything under the sun to like basically discourage these channels and make them go away. And, you know, they had the whole snafu with their advertising crap. I think that was a whole psyop. I don't think that even happened. You know, I think this was just a ploy to start to thin out the herd. Because to be honest with you, there really is only a handful of us on YouTube that actually do this in-depth research. You know, we just don't make stupid videos, you know, and throw them up there. Like I said yesterday on one of my live feeds, that, you know, no more is this a picture show. You know, we really have to start paying attention to the hardcore science of what's happening, because this is going to be the only way that we understand what's happening. It may be the only way that we're able to protect ourselves from what's coming. We have to understand the science behind it. So if you're looking for picture shows and slideshows, you've come to the wrong channel. Now, if I come up with something extraordinary, like we have been, well, then yes, you're going to see it. But we really need to educate everyone on the science behind what is happening. You know, and you're doing a fantastic job. And I know I'm putting in 12, 13, 14 hours. I'm up at 1 o'clock in the morning so I can get a few things done, and then, you know, get online with the doctor here by, you know, 5 a.m. or, you know, 5:30 in the morning and talk about, you know, what's in store for today. There is a lot of work involved, you know, in what's happening, a lot to monitor in the course of a day. You know, I'm lucky if I sleep 4 hours every day, you know, and I mean, you know, it is what it is. This is what I've chosen. The same applies for the doctor and yourself and many others. This is what we've chosen. This is the path that we've chosen to try to disclose this information. I know a lot of people out there respect this fact, and there are still billions of other people that need to wake up, but we're never going to reach them. That's what scares me. We're never going to reach these other people. That's sad.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we do, Scott. Maybe something will make it possible.
You know what?
I don't
I'll tell
know
you
what at the moment, but
I'll tell you what makes it nice is once in a while you'll get a comment saying, you know, I was going to debunk your channel, and then I'm wowed by it, and like, wow, that really encouraged me to keep going, because, you know, if no one is awakening to this whole idea, which is the whole point of making any video, is to wake people up to the reality of what's happening in our skies. So it's really encouraging when people like will make comments like that saying, hey, I thought you were a total nutcase until I watched the whole video. I'm like, thank you very much. That really keeps me going, because there's times like, you know, why do I go through all this trolling and all the negativity that you got to go through this sea of craziness that be calling you a crazy person, and to have, I think that's why a lot of people come to these channels, because they're like, hey, you're not crazy. This stuff is really happening, when the trolls are just there to keep you asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you finally wake up, you know, sometimes you want a little affirmation with some people like, did you see that? Yeah, that's, you know, what's real and what's not real, you know, and when you find someone who's also awake, you know, it keeps your sanity.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, you know, there's been a lot of situations as of lately, I'd say over the last 90 days, that have really firmed up my belief that I'm not crazy. I know exactly what's going on. And this is the biggest thing that humanity has ever seen since, you know, the Noah's flood, the birth of Jesus Christ. You know, I mean, this is the biggest thing that modern man on this planet will ever see. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, all of the craziness that we have going on in this world right now, whether it's politics or the weather or our solar system, each and every day, there's never a dull moment. You know, and I talk about all of the people that are dying on this planet every single day right now as we speak, because of these catastrophic floods, these huge landslides and mudslides. You know, the people in South America are taking a beating every day, but nobody's talking about it. You don't see it on mainstream media. You know, very rarely, like the other last week, when 9 people were struck and killed by lightning in India. How often does that happen?
Right. Well, how about 300, what was it, elk that died up in Norway at the same time? Yeah. Scattered across an area that was like at least a couple of square miles. Yeah. How does that happen? How they like drop dead with their heads basically exploded? What, like their antennas were like some kind of an electrical arc? It was crazy.
Yeah. And they said it was a lightning strike.
You can't really, you know, they have to say something. They make stuff up.
So I think, I mean, I honestly think that, you know, we're in the sign of the times. I don't like to refer to it as the end of days, because I really don't believe that we're ever going to see this end of days. Right. But like I said yesterday, you know, whenever we reach the pinnacle of all of this, the world is not going to be the same world that you were born and raised in. We are going to end up in a very, very different place. And, you know, technology might not be there to help us out. We may be, you know, we may be thrust back into a time where a lot of people nowadays, they're not going to be able to survive. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to fish. They don't know how to survive in the wilderness. You know, they need a microwave. They need a cell phone. You know, you may end up not having any of this technology. So Planet X might not get you, but starvation may get you. Not being able to survive on your own, that might get you in the end. But again, it's all speculation. You know, I do know this much. Eventually, we're going to see it all. Whether you live through it or not, that's to be seen. That's what we're here for. I know that's my goal. My goal is to, you know, continue to research and investigate and share my findings. And hopefully something I say sticks in someone's mind and helps them live another day. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. We have the biggest fight right now on this planet trying to disclose this information with what little resources we have. And I think we all do a fantastic job, because each and every day when we wake up and we continue to do this, the odds are against us tenfold. And like I said, yeah, I think we do a fantastic job with what resources we actually have available to us. And, you know, like I said, Jeff, you've done an incredible job in your disclosure on what you've been finding, and the doctor and all of her research papers and her findings, absolutely astounding information. And, you know, there's many others out there too that are plugging away each and every day. I think YouTube has kind of gotten to some of these people because they're not putting out as much. But in the end, you know, we're all in the same boat. None of us are different. We're all the same, man. We're all here on this planet. We have to share it. But,
well,
you know, I hope for the best sometimes.
Knowledge is power, and the truth is a good weapon.
Yeah.
You got to know. The more you know, the better, you know, and I never want to lead anybody astray. It's absolutely pure truth. The best I know, I present it.
Yep, absolutely. Jeff, did you want to stick around with us for a few minutes? And the doctor's going to go. She's going to finish up her report that we were into.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go ahead and grab this real quick. She's been doing some absolutely outstanding work.
Yeah, I just wanted one more opinion from her. From a physicist's thoughts, that you know, back to these dark sun halos, that the meteorologists on live TV, we know that they've chemtrails, that we see that they're calling them ice crystals. How ridiculous is that?
It is ridiculous.
Right? I mean, like ice crystals coming out of a jet engine on a hot summer day in like Arizona, all around the world, it's always ice crystals.
Yeah, no, it's not possible. I've actually written about that as well. You cannot have ice crystals forming at that altitude. You know, it's just not possible. There isn't even enough water up there for that. So
awesome.
And yeah, so yeah, it's not possible. So no, it's just they come up with ridiculous stories about everything. For example, they name objects on the SETI image Venus, and then you see it's having a plasma ejection. Or they call an object Saturn, but he moves in the opposite direction that Saturn would appear to move in. So they expect people to just be dumb and not know what's going on. That's, you know.
Right.
I think that's what's going on.
Even if it was ice crystals, shouldn't you be getting the full spectrum of light like a rainbow? You know,
yeah.
red,
the
green,
other
blue,
thing,
orange.
exactly. The thing is, you cannot get a rainbow from an ice crystal. It's got to be in the liquid form, because you have to have refraction at the front of a liquid drop. And then you have to have total internal reflection on the backside of the drop. And that doesn't happen in ice crystals. That only happens when you have liquid water. So otherwise you cannot get that rainbow effect.
Just because of the structure of the ice crystal, wouldn't diffract the light and bend light like you would through a prism.
Exactly. You know, you get the rainbow after the rain, and you get the rainbow, and it's got that arc form because of water droplets in the atmosphere. It's not ice crystals, it's water droplets. Whenever you get a rainbow effect, you have to have water, not solid water, not ice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and I find that people are saying the halo is just there because of the, it's reflecting from the chemtrails. But then why isn't this always occurring? We could see the sun through a chemtrail. Sometimes we get dark halos. Where was the halo then?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Exactly.
What we do get is rainbow clouds, and that's due to it's thin films, and it's a diffraction effect. And it's due to, what did I call it? It's a fluoropolymer that they aerolize and put into the atmosphere. So it's fluoride in a form where they can put it in the aerosols. So
Well,
they're spraying us with fluoride.
That stuff doesn't work on me.
Yeah.
I'm immune to that stuff, so they can spray me down with all the fluoride they want. It don't work on me. It actually makes me smarter.
So I've got another question for the physicist.
Yeah.
I believe you had done a paper like almost a year ago with Chris Potter about an artificial sunlight and the sun and the way that the sun approaches our light. And it was something along the lines of that, we've been told that the sun is 93 million miles away. I'm not arguing that, and there's a lot of debate on that, but nevertheless, it is far away, and it's incredibly much larger than the Earth. So that the light from the rays would, or basically hitting the Earth at a straight line. So when we'd be able to watch the sun, if it's all that we're actually looking at, wouldn't that really change its diameter as we watch it go across the sky?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Well, not if it's that far away.
Yeah.
But I think what I have mentioned before is that you get these sort of shadow patterns that the clouds form. And that's not possible with real sunlight. That's only possible if you have a light source that's very close to the clouds.
Right. You said that's due to the angle of light that's approaching us at now. It like a hard angle, no longer a straight light.
Yeah.
I've been called like the flashlight effect.
Yeah, it is almost like that, but it could be for two things. You could have the sun simulator out in orbit, and then because you have a lens array in front of it, its focal point is a lot closer to the cloud. So it looks like the light is coming from just behind the clouds. Or it could be that the sun simulator is actually close to the clouds, and therefore you get what you call, yes, the flashlight effect.
Okay, so what would be the altitude, would you guess, that this would be orbiting at?
You mean the sun simulating orbit?
Yes.
Probably at the ISS.
Okay,
probably
so we're on the same
ISS.
page then. That was my guess, at the same orbit as the ISS.
I would say so.
Very interesting.
I want to see that thing, man. I want to see that damn sun simulator or whatever the hell they up there. I want to see it.
No, if this thing is what we think it is, what would it take to? This thing, I think, is going to get destroyed by this incoming system at some point. Wouldn't you agree?
Probably. We don't know how many of them have been destroyed already. Like I said, you say there are 2. I think there may be a lot more than that.
So,
especially the ones in the atmosphere, there are quite a few of them.
Like 12 or something? And you think that they could be the orbs that we're witnessing next to the sun sometimes?
No, I don't think so. I think the orbs next to the sun are way too close to the sun.
Oh, okay.
The sun simulators are close to the Earth. Because if they were close to the sun, it's very difficult for us human beings to build something of that size. Don't forget they have to be around the size of Jupiter.
Right, right. That's why. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we're watching the same. Gave me a heads up when I was listening to Chris Potter saying that, you know, if we're going to build something like this, it would have to be closer to the Earth, so we don't need to build it so big, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the closer we can get it to the Earth orbit, the smaller we can make it, more practical.
That's right. Yeah.
I think they've been building these damn simulators with all of those space shuttle missions, and then abruptly the space shuttle missions stop.
Oh yeah, there was somebody was telling me that the patent that was the date that it was patented was the same date that they built or launched the first space shuttle mission.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back and check that out.
Yeah, because I mean, basically, I mean, in space you have weightlessness, so I mean, you know, it's been mentioned several times before that they have technology that is 50 years more advanced than we can even imagine here on Earth. So we don't even know the technology that they have. We don't even know what they're doing. We don't know what they're putting up there, you know, in all of those space shuttle missions. Oh, this is research. Oh, we want to orbit the Earth. Look how long the space station's been up there. You know, one thing that does worry me and I think about is how are they protecting these so-called astronauts from all of this radiation? Because we've seen this massive increase in radiation for a long time now, and it's actually getting worse, and it's steadfast. It's every single day.
Yeah.
You know, so is there some truth that there is nobody up there in the space station, and whenever they do have the video feeds, it's fake? I mean, that goes all the way back to the man landing on the moon, and they filmed that in a studio in Hollywood. You know,
well, it's possible.
I mean, they've showed several videos as of recently. The guy that has the YouTube channel Russian Vids, he shows the videos of these astronauts spinning around, flipping around inside of the space station, and they've got harnesses on and black wires fastened to their waist.
Oh my!
You can see it, clear as day.
Then
so
it is
are these people really in a damn studio? The commentator on the news station that was interviewing them on the news even said that. Wow, you guys look like you're in a studio.
Wow.
So let's think about that. You know, these guys are up there for 6 months. Do you think that they're absorbing that much radiation and then coming back to Earth and not having any medical problems and growing a third eye?
Hey, I know it's a little off topic, but I had to bring this out because it's pretty in today's current events. On Dabu 7, he talks about a lady from England whose daughter was murdered 4 years ago by a boyfriend. She was strangled to death and dumped in a graveyard. And her face is the one that showed up in the Manchester explosion.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, go back and check it out. You can see the link, and she could, like, you know, it's bad enough that your daughter gets murdered by a boyfriend because he was told her she was pregnant. And then these people pull this whole thing off, and is one of the people that are missing.
Sure.
So I just thought that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think
you don't always believe everything you see from the mainstream media, right?
Yeah, I immediately, whenever I heard about that report over there in Manchester, I immediately thought, okay, this is another psyop. And then it just came out that they were rehearsing this the week before. They have photographs of people laying on the floor with fake blood on them and safety glasses.
And earmuffs because of the gun blast.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. You know, enough is enough. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole terrorism thing, yeah, you know, I think it exists to an extent, but
Right.
you know,
You just got to
I'm
really
not buying
dig
this.
deeper on
I'm
all
not,
this stuff.
yeah, I'm not buying this at all. I think this is just another divert the attention away, you know, blah blah blah. And I think we'll see more of them. And then, you know, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but now there's reports that, you know, this is going to be the summer from hell, because they're going to have all of these riots around the world in major cities that are going to occur all summer, June, July, and August. Okay, well, where the hell is that information? Is somebody scheduling this?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
like climate chaos, you know, what was that? Just the first effects of Planet X coming to our solar system.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I think there's little tidbits of cover up that are going around out there. They still never disclosed what caused the power outages a few weeks ago on the East Coast and the West Coast. They never disclosed that day that there were more power outages in other countries around the world at the same damn time.
Oh, I got a question for the physicist too about the Nemesis star and its effect on the Earth.
Mhm.
So wouldn't the like Hollywood, wouldn't it destabilize the Earth's core?
Well,
with
in fact,
magnetic field going through it.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. That's why we're having more and more volcanic eruptions and more earthquakes. And that's why the poles are shifting, because the star's magnetic field is affecting the Earth's magnetic field, and is causing the Earth to wobble and the core to heat up. So this is exactly what we are observing is happening. That's why we're having more and more earthquakes.
Yeah, we did a big report on earthquake dynamics, and the doctor did an absolutely phenomenal report on the earthquake dynamics. And I mean, just speaking of that, just I think maybe 12 hours ago, 18 hours ago, a very, very deep earthquake in the South Pacific. Doctor, didn't you say that was close to the mantle?
Yeah. Well, it was definitely in the mantle. It was over 500 kilometers in depth. You know, the crust only goes down to maximum of 100 kilometers.
Yeah, so that was a deep earthquake.
It was in the mantle, definitely.
Okay, so I got another question for the physicist. Now, if the magnetic field is heating up the Earth's core, wouldn't that suppress or reduce the Earth's magnetic field also, as heat would affect the magnetic field of the Earth?
It probably will, yes. Also, the fact that the sun is getting weaker seems to maybe affect it as well. Yeah, definitely. I think it would weaken the Earth's magnetic field, yes. And not only that, the most dramatic thing that's happening is this wobble, because I think what's happening is there's like a tug of war between the sun and these other objects. The one that you say its name is, I refuse to name them, but you know, they are around, they are in the solar system. If they come close to the Earth, there will be a tug of war. The sun grabs, the sun obviously is the largest object, and the Earth is locked into it. And then these other objects will come close to the Earth, and there will be this tug of war. And the Earth then tries to align its poles with the other star or the sun, whichever one's winning, and that's what we end up with. Yes, and of course the war within them. And we were looking as well at the solar wind. And what happens is the coronal holes release this fast solar wind. And you know that the interaction between the solar wind and the Earth's magnetosphere causes a strengthening of the magnetic field, actually, or it causes a weakening of it. There is this kind of interaction. But now it looks like there's a stellar wind coming from the other side, which actually opposes the fast solar wind. That's why its speed is so low. you can actually see it looks like a wave that comes in from behind the Earth. And you can see the wave pattern where the arrows sort of reverse or go to zero, go to zero, go to zero, you know, in a periodic fashion. So all this is happening. There's a lot of dynamics because of these objects affecting the Earth. And the magnetic fields, yeah, it's strong effects.
Yeah, we've been seeing that buffering of the solar wind model, and there's no doubt about it that there is something definitely opposing the solar wind to have a CME coming off of the sun, and the solar wind speed just 300 kilometers per second. I mean, that's ridiculous.
So that brings up another topic about the solar wind. Remember the solar wind reversals that there's been YouTubers, I forget their names at the time, but isn't this that we discovered that this is where the brown dwarf star is every time that the sun is near the Aquarius, you said? That we get this reversal?
That's right. I mean, I actually used I actually used the magnetopause reversals to try to estimate where the object that was coming in from outside Earth orbit was. Don't forget, there are so many objects at the moment around the sun that we may have some very strong interacting objects, and it has everything to do with the magnetic fields, not necessarily their size or their mass. It's got to do with the magnetic fields. The stronger the magnetic fields are, the more of an effect they will have on the Earth and on the sun. Okay. And the Earth is then impacted by what happens with the sun. So I actually was, and these kinds of objects will cause the magnetopause reversals if they are, if the Earth is between the sun and one of them. So I actually used that to calculate where they were. So the first time I calculated it, this object, and if it is the same object, was at 6.9 AU. So between Jupiter and Saturn, and that was in October 2016. And then I think, when was it that I calculated that again? I think it was in March of this year. And I found that it was at 1.5 AU, which is just behind Mars orbit. And I thought it had accelerated because it moved about 5 AU in about 6 months. So then I calculated when it was due to cross Earth orbit. Okay, it doesn't mean that by the time it crossed Earth orbit that it was right on top of the Earth, because by then the Earth has moved in its orbit. But it would have been, I don't remember now, in April sometime. So in that case, if it never slowed down, it's now in the inner solar system, probably getting close to the sun. And the fact that we're seeing more and more coronal holes, larger and larger coronal holes on the sun, and we're actually seeing some activity, because what happens with the sun is it actually tries to push these objects away with huge CMEs sometimes. I've actually observed that happening. So you get the two things. You get the coronal holes and the solar flares that happen because of these objects approaching. And we see both happening on the sun.
Yeah, we see a lot of, you could definitely see this interaction with the sun and these objects. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about it at all.
So did you watch my video? It was a leaked document of Planet X, and it's having, one of the things that caught my eye was its magnetic field was 8 AUs.
Yeah, wow. I remember. I did see that.
Sorry, I didn't watch that one. I should watch it. I will watch it now.
You can find it on the internet. I think if you go back and maybe I could find it. I'll try and put links back on there. But it was a leaked document, and this thing was made of cesium. Okay. And it had a rotational speed of 36 miles an hour, 36,000 miles an hour. And
okay, that's all possible. But don't forget, the effect of the sun's magnetic field is felt at 100 AU. So to tell you the truth, 8 AU may not be that dramatic. We may actually have objects with even larger magnetic fields affecting the sun.
So my question was, this magnetic field from Planet X, couldn't we be feeling the effects of this? Like from Mike around the world, that I've had pictures of ocean currents at cross waves, like these interference patterns that are caught on the ocean.
Yeah.
And they are, like, I think it was over in Texas, but from Mike around the world, he showed these birds that suddenly started freaking out. Now, people that are actually believe that they have witnessed this thing, the birds all don't know what direction to fly on. I mean, is this part of the mash? Fish kill off, and whales being 300 whales washing up in New Zealand and don't know what direction to go because their compass in their brain is now telling it to go east and west instead of north and south. I mean,
I think the mammals, I think the sea mammals.
You see what I'm following with that? The effects that the Earth is feeling from this close pressures with it?
These magnetic fields and the fact that we are getting hit by cosmic radiation that's coming from inside the sun, and we're getting hit by large amounts of radiation coming from these objects. First of all, it's not just the magnetic field. The magnetic field will do those things, but what happens to the ionosphere, you get large currents in the ionosphere, which also causes induced currents. So we have both the effects of the magnetic fields directly, which will cause these the core to heat up. It causes induced current, but the current, due to the large amount of particles hitting the magnetosphere and affecting the ionosphere, are doing the same thing. We have a double barrel effect. So magnetic fields and particles,
So
it definitely
are you familiar
would
with, what's the guy's name? The guy that's catching the, man, I totally can't come up with the guy's name. He's the one that's catching these two objects in a regular, timely fashion, like on a time. He's been on the channel showing these objects, two of them, that are catching them.
David Dobbs.
Yeah, Dave Dobbs. So he's calling it Planet X, and because it's got the two wings, but in the earlier part of the video, it looks like it's on fire. And then you're showing other videos where it's showing more like a cloud. And then he even quotes, it's like, this thing is not crashing into the Earth. Why is that? Well, my theory is that I think it's still orbiting. The pull of Planet X is keeping it from crashing into the planet. He's catching this thing on a regular basis. On a 200-day cycle.
I know about him. I've seen it. I've seen some of his videos. I looked at it. Someone asked me about where do I think they were and whether they will ever crash into the Earth. I think what he's looking at may be a planet. Okay. And from the electrical theory, we know that planets have the same charge, so they repel each other. So I don't think planets will ever collide with each other.
Well, I think that's exactly why it's caused a lot of confusion, because people need to go back to the electric universe, not this inward pull of gravity. It's magnetic.
That's right. Exactly.
So
I don't think there's any danger of this object actually colliding with the Earth. It could be that it does seem to have a cloud of ionized gas around it that seems to form these types of wings. And that cloud of ionized gas may be able to interact with the atmosphere on our planet and affect it in some way. And that may cause electrical discharges beyond what is normal and things like that. But I don't think it's ever going to collide with the Earth.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on that. I'm just still considering what that was. I have actually personally seen this with my own eyes in California, and it was my wife. We were watching this. I'm sitting there watching this over Europe. Those blobs, what you want to call a spider with the wings and the electrical. This thing had 4 arms off of it, and I suggest that might have been the moons in an orbit, attached by plasma. And after watching all these YouTube videos, this dark spot in the sky, my wife goes, "There it is." I'm like, "What do you mean there it is?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe what I've been watching on cameras over Europe out of the front of my house." And I actually, it felt an energy off this thing that just kind of made my stomach turn. It was just bizarre. And I still have it. It was in the archives of one of my videos of what this thing looked like. And it was exactly this dark cloud. At the time, it had 4 arms on it. It didn't see like a plasma tail, but you could see this dark round object with like 4 arms. It did kind of look like spider legs, but it looked like maybe at the bend of the elbow is where the moon may have been and the plasma coming up. I mean, I'm just theorizing, but this thing did not move with the normal clouds. It stood there for like a half an hour while the rest of the cloud, this was a light sunny day with chemtrails, and this dark object appeared.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing some very unusual things in the skies and around the world as we move into and through the summer and into the fall. I think that getting past the end of September, I'm not out there trying to set dates or anything of that nature, but you know, me and a whole lot of other people feel that moving past the end of September and moving into October is possibly going to be the point where we hit the pinnacle of all of this. But we will see. There's definitely no doubt about that. Doctor, I wanted to mention to you, we have that conference call coming up in about 20 minutes that we have to jump onto. But Jeff, listen, buddy, make sure that you stay in touch with me. I have your email address. You probably still have mine. It hasn't changed. And we're going to get through the rest of this report. We have a really important conference call.
Okay.
To get on to here in about 20 minutes. And we're going to be back tomorrow, probably early morning with another live feed. And I'm hoping to have gentlemen from Australia, Prep Aussie Prepper.
Right on.
He's been doing some fantastic work down there. And he stumbled onto some pretty incredible information, and we're going to examine it tomorrow. And it should be very, very interesting. I watched his video. I think it's Prep Aussie is the name of his YouTube channel. And I watched it last night, and I contacted him. I said, look, you know, with the work you've done on this still photograph from the stereo from May 10th, and it just happens to be the same May 10th that I caught my big blue object. So this May 10th date, these couple of days in May, they were like very important. A lot of discoveries made, you know, and I knew May was going to be like this. But we're going to go ahead and get through the rest of her report, because what's up on the screen right now, I'm pretty interested in. Yeah. And if you want to hang out with us, Jeff, but if you want to jump on another feed with us, just let me know, buddy. I'd be more than happy to have you anytime.
Too, so I'll try and jump in a little later. I've got a couple of meetings I got to go.
Okay, buddy. Listen, it was great having you. Great having you. Hey, if you feel like uploading this this live stream to your YouTube channel, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, buddy. You take care.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Jeff.
Bye.
Okay, Scott, we actually need to start to do the image before that quickly, because it feeds into this one.
Oh, did I go too far?
Yeah, so figure 7. All right, so we start here. I calculate the size of this object, and I started by estimating the size of the Earth, and I actually had to do it twice, but it turned out the same. I had to do it twice to make sure, because in the shrimp images, it's difficult to estimate the size of the Earth. But the little red circle is the size of the Earth, and then 11 of those are used to go along the diameter of the big object. You see, the blue circle indicates the large object that you found on these images. So that's the first thing. So I found out you need 11 circles, so it's 11 times larger than the Earth, and therefore 1.1 times the size of Jupiter. Okay, now we can go to figure 8. And so then I do the same thing because another object appears, and it looks like, you know, that large circle we've been seeing in the HIA and the HIA SRAM images for months now. And this object looks like it's the same size. You don't see all of it. You see it at the top and at the bottom, the outline. So what I did was I drew the yellow circle with the same radius as that object. And then I use the size of the brown dwarf star that appears behind the Earth, and I tried to estimate its size with that. And it turned out to be
about 2 2/3.
2.7.
Ooh.
Yeah, I used 2.7. And since it's 1.1 times the size of Jupiter, it turns out that that particular object is 3 times the size of Jupiter, the large one. So then, because I also don't see anything that would suggest that's the brown dwarf star, I thought, well, it's probably a brown dwarf. In other words, a brown dwarf star that's a little more evolved. It's more like a gas giant planet, and its size also suggests that.
My God.
So, yeah, isn't that amazing? And then, so that's all the objects so far. You know, it's quite a few. So I tabulated them. There's a table down there below with all of them and all their names. So if you scroll down a little bit more. Yeah, I named it a BD. Yeah, they're all of them. There's the BDS 220207, 1.7 times the radius of Jupiter. And that's the first one we observed in 2007. Then the BDS 311212, these are the one, that's the one that was drawing plasma from the sun. And the one below that is the one that we caught in the GOES image. It's obviously an X-ray source, so it cannot be a planet because you need to have ionized helium or a heavier nucleus to have X-ray emission. So it's also a brown dwarf star. It's got to be a star. And then the BD 51020017 Sion, that's your dwarf. And then, yeah. And then the BDS 5202017, that's the one that you found in the SRAM images. That's the 1.1 times the radius of Jupiter. And then the last one is that large one, the BD 5222017 with 3 times the radius of Jupiter. And there in that figure, I've drawn all of them. So you see the size of the sun, you see the Earth next to the word sun there. You see how tiny it is. It is a little speck. And then you see all of the objects. So your brown dwarf, the blue one, with the word Sion at the back. And I drew it in blue. You see that it's the largest of them all, of course, but it's still much smaller than the sun. You can see that. And then you see the little one, the BDS 510217. That's the one that was half hidden in the GOES image. And then the green one was the one that was drawing plasma from the sun. And then we see their Jupiter, so we can compare all of them. And then the BDS 22020007, the 2007. So that's the first one we observed. And I colored it in black because it had a black core and its outer envelope was ionized and it was emitting some light. So I drew the outline in red.
So
then the little one at the...
We have like pretty much six verifiable objects that we've identified already. We have 6 of them.
Yeah, I do mention in this report that the 2 brown dwarfs may actually be the same object or they may be separate objects. I cannot be sure because, as you know, in the SRAM images, we don't see color.
Yeah.
And they are, you know, their sizes are not that far. And we only estimating them anyway. So it is possible that they are the same object. But it's also possible we have more than one brown dwarf. Yeah.
Very incredible. So between 5 and 6 objects that congregating
Yeah.
around our sun and within our inner solar system. These are the
That's right.
little troublemakers that that we have to deal with. Pretty
Yeah.
amazing. This was a fantastic report. I wasn't expecting the end. I didn't get to review this before we went on the air, but
Yeah.
the ending of this was absolutely incredible. You did a fantastic job on this, because this just sums it up for everyone that this is what we are trying to track down. So far, we've located and identified 5 or 6 objects in our inner solar system. Some of them could be considered brown dwarfs. Some of them can be considered brown dwarf stars. And we still don't know if any of these objects have other smaller planets or moons orbiting around them. But I'm sure as time goes on, we will probably find that out and figure that out. But this was an absolutely amazing report. This is the ending of this was fantastic. This just says it all right here, ladies and gentlemen. You're seeing it with your own eyes that we've discovered 5 or 6 objects that are foreign to our solar system. They are guests in our neighborhood. Let's hope they don't stick around. But I think we're going to be in for a pretty rough ride, you know, in the months to come, maybe even the years to come. It's very hard to say. But this was an absolutely fantastic. Is there any more goodies below this?
I just mentioned some of the things that I actually talked about before with Jeff anyway, about the fact that these objects, I mentioned the fact that Jupiter is 1,000 times less massive than the sun. So I talk about the mass and how, to me, it's astounding that it's not actually intrinsic property of matter, but that it can change and it decreases as a star evolves from the main sequence stage through the white dwarf, brown dwarf star stage to the brown dwarf stage. And we see it as well because the objects get larger, so they're able to pull in their matter with greater difficulty because the gravitational field they're able to generate is not as large. Absolutely. So that's some of the things that I keep talking about, because to me it's just astounding. This is just amazing.
Yeah,
so that's basically it.
It is pretty breathtaking, you know, to see the size of these objects compared to, you know, our planet Jupiter and compared to the Earth and the size of the sun. You know, I'm not sure if everyone is actually able to comprehend that yes, there are objects in the galaxy and the universe that are much, much larger than our known planets and our sun. And everything that is happening and that we are researching, these are super high possibilities. This is just not some dream that, you know, is being trumped up. These are very, very, very high possibilities, and they're being made on legitimate observations. This is what we're seeing. This is what we're finding. And the doctor is applying physics and her education and knowledge to discover what we're seeing here right now. So, you know, people are, they're going to have their own opinions, but, you know, based on science, based on physics, and based on observation, this is what we're coming up with. This is what we're coming up with. Very, very good report. I'll tell you, this was fantastic. I really, really like the comparison diagram at the end. That was just absolutely amazing. And now, you know, that's actually what I've been looking for. You know, something like that to compare all of the sizes of these objects compared to the sun and our beautiful little Earth.
Yeah.
So tomorrow,
Thank you, Scott.
yeah, tomorrow we're going to try to get together with the gentleman down there in Australia, and we're going to try to put something together where we can all come together on a live stream and discuss the discovery that he made on the Core 2 image. And I believe that was also on May 10th, 2017. And he did a fantastic job, you know, breaking down the colors and bringing out these images. And we're going to try really, really hard to get on board with him tomorrow. It should be me and the doctor and Prep Aussie, and Chris Potter may be joining us, and Jeff P may be joining us. So we may have a little gathering here tomorrow morning sometime. I'll let everybody know. I'll post it on the Planet X News channel, and it's probably going to be a lengthy conversation because there's probably going to be a lot to cover. Any last words, Doctor, before we close our live stream out?
No, just to say thank you for allowing me to tell people the truth, and the truth I believe is that it's time. These are warnings that these objects are here, that people should get to know the Creator.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. And listen, I'd like to send out a very special thanks to my two moderators out there, Heidi and Dark Angel. Thank you very, very much for maintaining and controlling the live feed chat. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, again, remember, we are trying to dig into the science of what is behind, you know, the Planet X theory. And this is what we're going to continue to do on this channel. You know, I'm not going to be very much for showing all of these picture shows and things of that nature, unless we come up with something, or someone comes up with something that is just absolutely breathtaking. And then we're going to dig into it and we're going to find out what it is. So all of you, please, I love your support. Me and the doctor both thank you very, very much for standing behind us, taking the time out of your day to listen to us. That makes a big difference. I really, really do thank you. And everybody be safe out there. And we will definitely be back tomorrow with another report. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank all of you very much for watching.